What is up, everyone? I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the better injury news we've been getting in reference to three position players who have been out for a decent amount of time. We'll start off first with LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu, of course, has had, an up and down season. He was very good to start the year, and then he suffers a toe injury and really wasn't the same since the power was gone. And with no power, it's relatively thus the OBP and the average dropped as well. And while LeMahieu is someone that, I know a lot of people may not think is going to be as good as he was before, which, I don't think he's going to be as good as he was to start the year. He definitely can be, a 110 to 115 OPS plus type bat. And considering where Donaldson's hitting in the lineup, considering, where IKF and Trevino have hit in the lineup, considering that Cabrera's hit fourth and fifth frequently, even though he's been red hot, you can definitely see where LeMahieu slides in and gives you an upgrade, especially over guys who have, for most of the season, performed pretty, average to not, if not below average. He's a phenomenal defender at three different positions, which is extremely valuable. If you look at LeMahieu as a guy who takes a lot of pitches, this is not a guy who will expand the zone. He is going to be a high OBP guy. There is going to be teams that are going to be pitching right at Aaron Judge, or right at guys, so that they don't have to pitch right at Aaron Judge. And so because of that, I don't know if LeMahieu's the best leadoff option, because we don't really know if the toe is tested enough for him to go out there and start driving the baseball. However, if you do put him, down the lineup at some point, in front of guys who aren't as good, guys that, pitchers are more inclined to attack. Maybe they don't feel as inclined to attack LeMahieu. He gets himself on base. And with the depth of this lineup, perhaps that forces some situations where teams end up walking LeMahieu, not really wanting to walk LeMahieu, and putting a situation where they get a guy like IKF or Trevino and they run into a hit here and there. And it propels the Yankees to getting some runs that end up being the difference between them winning and losing a game, which is the difference between you winning and losing a series, and winning and losing a series is the difference between you winning and losing the World Series. So ultimately, I look at a guy like LeMahieu and, the high contact rate, the high, the high OBP, the great defense, the low chase rate, these are good tools to have for a postseason series. You think there's a lot of power, there's a lot of power pitching. Kevin Gausman, Shane McClanahan, Tyler Glasnow will be back. Robbie Ray, Luis Castillo. You look at the Astros, Verlander, Framber Valdez. These are, Christian Javier. These are all guys who pump fastballs well over 94 miles an hour. You look at the Central, Shane Bieber doesn't throw too hard, neither does Tristan McKenzie. But, there's still pretty good pitching. Those are guys who have had success all season. But even in bullpens, right? You look at Emmanuel Clases of the world, Matt Brash, Andres Munoz. We know that the Rays have a billion good relievers. The Blue Jays have Jordan Romano. It's not going to be easy to get, contact and get good results against these very good power pitchers. But having high guys who run high contact rates, who run low chase rates, they could potentially be a big advantage there, because they're just putting out, they're putting out a lot of contact. The BABIP gods may reward them with a hit here and there, and that's ultimately all you need sometimes, especially when you consider the Yankees do have a lot of home run power. It's not like they're lacking in that regard, where they're leaning on these BABIP balls for them to go their way in order for them to go out and have success. They're leaning on a variety of different things, and that variety of different things should allow them to have a lot of success in October. And then I guess kind of moving from that infield to the outfield / DH, I guess, if we're talking about Carpenter. But we'll talk about Carpenter first, and then we'll move on to Benintendi. Carpenter, of course, was having a phenomenal season. There was no slowdown with him. He didn't really get injured in the traditional way, where it's a muscle strain or some sort of soreness. But he was crushing with the Yankees. He had a 216 WRC plus. He had 15 home runs in 47 games. He had a 2.3 F4 in under 200 plate appearances, a 13.7% barrel rate. He was really crushing for New York. He put the ball in the air a lot. He pulled the ball a lot. He was just very successful for the Yankees, slugging well over 700, putting up a high walk rate. He was remarkable. If you look at the chase rate, this isn't just a thing that happened with the Yankees. His chase rate has historically always been low. He's running a career .0 swing rate, which is about out of zone swing percentage of just under 21%. And you look at the swinging strike rate at 8.5%. Another guy who's not going to swing and miss a lot and is also going to chase a lot. But unlike with LeMahieu, he definitely has better power than LeMahieu, or at least he generates more barrels than LeMahieu and puts the ball in the air more than LeMahieu. That should allow for a lot of really good results in terms of, getting walks, hitting the ball in the air, running into a home run here or there. Carpenter fills in for the middle of this lineup very nicely, especially when you have Rizzo, you have Stanton, you have Judge. You could definitely hit him after Stanton. You have Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, Carpenter, and that's a very devastating quadret of guys, a quadret of bats that are going to go out and at any point in time take the ball deep. And that is a massive issue for opposing pitchers who, they're trying to prevent home runs in October, especially with runners on. I mean, they're not going to pitch at Aaron Judge so that they don't have to face Anthony Rizzo. They'll go out and they'll probably pitch around Judge to try to get to a guy like Rizzo, and Rizzo can do a lot of damage, stay in the same way. And Carpenter, of course, do a lot of damage, and he does damage against both lefties and righties. Do I expect him to have an OPS well over 1,000? No. Do I expect him to have an OPS potentially in the low 800s? That could be possible. Zips is pretty big on him. They have him at a 126 WRC plus. I think that's a good number for him. If you can get him to give you that 126 WRC plus, that's a big boost for the lineup. They'll get a couple home runs here and there. He's been magical for the Yankees when healthy. He's definitely a guy that I could 100% advocate for to be in this lineup every single day if his foot is even somewhat okay, because all you need him to do is pull the ball. You don't need him to do anything else. You don't need him to run. You don't need him to do anything. If he has to jog to first base, he has to jog to first base. I don't care. And I guess in that same note, we'll talk about Benintendi. Benintendi, of course, was acquired to be the Yankees' full-time left fielder. Unfortunately, after he started playing well, he had a hamate bone injury, kind of similar to Carpenter, where it's a freak accident. You can't really do anything about it. Benintendi was a guy who was stealing more in New York. He had 4 stolen bases in New York, 4 as a Royal, but he had way less time in New York than as a Royal. He was playing some good defense. He had 1 out above average in left field, so he's a solid defender out there, and the bat was catching up. He was starting to hit for a little more power. He was starting to really put together, a strong campaign as a New York Yankee. He started putting the ball in the air a little bit. He started hitting more home runs. His WRC plus was 111 after a slow start. His isolated power was almost 150. He was just playing really well for the Yankees, and that's something that the Yankees desperately needed. The Yankees really needed a guy like Benintendi who, again, not running a high swinging strike rate, running a low chase rate, has, I know that the power numbers aren't there, but in terms of batted ball data, so we're pointing at things like max exit velocity, hard hit rate, barrel percentage. Benintendi grades out as more of an average to maybe even slightly above average power guy. The barrel rate of 7.6% is the Yankees average, a 91.1 mile per hour exit velocity is definitely above average. And then on the season, a 109.8 mile per hour max exit velocity is slightly better than that league average mark we'll usually see for guys like the Benintendis of the world. So the defense is good. The BSR of 2.0. He was a very aggressive base runner with the Yankees, kind of like he was with the Red Sox early on in his tenure. He stole 20 bases back-to-back years in 17 and 18. Seems like a more disciplined base runner right now. Steamer and Zips have him at around a 116, 118 WRC plus, which means 16% or 18% better than league average, running that low strikeout rate, running a pretty solid walk rate. I think New York has done good things for Benintendi. I imagine they bring him back after this season. He already accumulated 0.8 F4 in his 131 plate appearances compared to two flat WAR, so 2.0 in Kansas City over 300 plate appearances. I don't think it's crazy to say that, Benintendi is at least an important part of this team. If he gives you that 3 to 4 win production, you're going to feel pretty good about things. He's a solid defender in left field. Yes, you now have to ask the question about where Cabrera goes. You have infield spots, If Isaiah Kiner-Falefa doesn't, if he cools off a little bit, you can put Cabrera in there against a tough righty. You could do Cabrera against righties and Kiner-Falefa against lefties. If you wanted to kind of mess around, do the same thing with Donaldson, kind of put Donaldson only against lefties, or maybe someone goes down. You never know what happens. things happen, so you never really know. Maybe Bader's not a great matchup for a certain righty. You put Cabrera in right field and Judge in center. That could totally be a thing the Yankees do. It just opens up a lot of possibilities for the Yankees, and that's really all that matters. But of course, you guys can let us know what you guys think. LeMahieu's going to be testing out the toe. Carpenter's, gotten positive imaging. There has been healing made, and then Benintendi should get his stitches off soon. So we'll see how these guys kind of mix back into the fold and how they can impact the Yankees going down the stretch as they, get ready to push for an ALDS against, one of Cleveland or Toronto or Tampa or Seattle, and hopefully a matchup in the ALCS with a team like Houston or whoever the hell is left. But we'll wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate your guys' continued support, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Ryan out.